theme for tonight's summit is Empowered for Continuity. And I'm going to be speaking about the value of mentorship. And whilst I was thinking about the theme and thinking about coming here tonight, one of the words that stood out very prominently to me was the word continuity. And what is there for us to want to continue? Why are we talking about continuity? Why is this an issue for us? Why did Mommy decide to have a theme like continuity? Empowered for continuity. What is there to continue? So even before I start talking about mentorship and what mentorship is and why it's important to us, I just want us to focus a little bit on that aspect of continuity. Because I think about it this way. All of the work that Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman has done, all of the work that Madam Joyce Bawuah-Muktari is doing, all of the things that our gender minister is working on, and everything that Auntie Esther has worked on all of these years need to be continued. I think about it like a relay race, that one generation hands out a baton to another generation. And I pray that when we are handed that baton, we won't drop it, and secondly, we won't run in the wrong direction. I'm sure all of us have seen the funny video of the little boy who was in a relay race, took the baton and ran in the wrong direction, but ran very fast. And so it's possible that after all the hard work of the generations before us, we can actually begin to run in the wrong direction. And every time I talk to older women, one of the things that comes up a lot is they're not very sure if we're getting it right in this next generation, the younger women especially. And so I want us to think about the fact that we play a very important role in ensuring that their work is continued. And so one of the things that we can take away tonight is what is there for us to continue. And so I did a bit of looking around, and I found a few very interesting stories. The first one is of Agnes Ofori-Tego Kwakuponi, who was born in this month that we've just ended, May of 1913. And history records her as someone who was a very strong advocate and very important person in the independence struggle. Unfortunately, most times when we talk about Ghana's independence and the struggle to independence, there's a constituency of people that really goes unnoticed. And that's the constituency that Auntie Agnes represented, the market women. The market women financed, pushed, advocated, and ensured that independence came to Ghana. Auntie Agnes was one of the women who personally used her personal finances to finance Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's campaign and the work of the CPP. She also represents not just the constituency that we neglect, but a very important group of our economy, the informal sector. From January of this year, I started working with Akosombo Textiles as head of sales and marketing. And over the last 5 months, I've been working with the market women. So I sell cloth, I sell intuma. And so when the lady talks about not buying cloth every month for every funeral, I said, hey, she's spoiling my business. But the truth is, our market women, our mothers who are the engines of our economy, the informal sector, and have held, especially my industry, for over 50 years, a constituency we cannot forget. But I want us to reflect on Madam Agnes's example. The example of putting our money where our mouth is. The example of when we believe in something, we need to finance it, we need to stand by it, and we need to influence other people to also follow that course. And that's something, that's an example that we must continue. And then I think about what history will say about Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman and her contribution to education in Africa and in Ghana. We've heard it said here so many times already this evening that she's the first female vice-chancellor of a state-owned university in Ghana. And I'm very sure that she didn't go through all of her toil and hard work for history to record her as the only female vice-chancellor of a state-owned university in Ghana. And that's why continuity is important. A few years ago, I attended a training in the US, and as part of the training sessions, one of the modules was on public speaking. And the very Caucasian male instructor asked all of us to write down the name of one person we would like to model after. And typically, everyone in the room wrote names of popular people, especially people who Americans could identify with. But I wrote down one name. And when we went around the room asking everyone to mention the name, I mentioned her name. And in my introduction, I actually said, none of you know her because she lives in my country, but she's someone I would like to model public speaking-wise after. And then the question was asked, why? And we should write down the reason. And there were 2 words I remember writing, and this is possibly 7, 8 years ago. I wrote poise, and I wrote panache. Unfortunately, Auntie Joyce I is not here with us tonight, but from as long as I can remember, the image of a woman who speaks to society strongly and influentially has always been her face. And I believe strongly that after spending over 40 years in public service and private service, her work, her influence, her style must be continued. And that's why tonight we have to talk about mentorship. Because Isaac Newton said something very instructive. If I've seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. If we're going to achieve great things, we can't just concentrate on just ourselves. We have to figure out how can we do this and do this even better than the generations that have gone ahead of us. In my relatively short corporate life, one of the things I've come to notice is the value of having good mentors. And sometimes we confuse mentorship with a number of things. And so I'm going to talk about what mentorship is not. The first thing mentorship is not coaching. So typically a coach is someone who you would possibly pay, most times pay. The relationship is time-bound. It's very structured. Most times the coach is trying to help you achieve a particular task, so it's task-oriented. On the other hand, a mentor builds a relationship with you. The relationship between a mentor and a mentee becomes quite long-term, and it's more of a very engaging relationship. So mentorship is not coaching. Mentorship is also not therapy. And I say that from experience because I've interacted with lots of young ladies, a lot of young people, I should say. And sometimes you expect that your mentor should be the one that you cry on or you get emotional support from. One of the things we need to identify, I believe Rita spoke about, is identifying where our growth opportunities are. What are those skills that we need to get us to where we want to get to? And then identify who in our environment, and even if they're not in our immediate environment, who is out there who can help us achieve those improvements. And so your mentor is not just someone who's going to help you emotionally, but professionally to grow into the person that you want to be. The third thing a mentor is not simply your financier. And I've fallen into that trap a number of times where I felt that my mentor is just armstrong and stiff and stingy. Because you go to them with a challenge and you're expecting them to say, oh, I've seen a joke that says, everybody's asking me why I'm not happy, they should just send me Momo and I'll be happy again. Or just send me a box of chocolates and $1 million and everything will be fine. Your mentor is not your financier. Your mentor is supposed to help you fish, not just keep giving you fish. And it can be a challenge in our environment because we typically feel that the number one way people give us help is by giving us money.